To my absolute shock, surprise, and confusion, Britt decided to do an interview with Megyn Kelly, and it was pretty terrible. Not as bad as the Stefanik one we covered yesterday, but another example of what is wrong with these people.
I do have my suspicions. I'm not ready to say them yet, but I actually do. I have a woman in mind that I just think he's going to choose, and we'll see whether I'm right. I'll be honest with you. If he chooses somebody, if he picks a young woman and it's not mine, I'll tell you. And if it is mine, I've told my team, so they'll back me up on whether I have it right. But I don't want to get ahead of my skis. Okay, so that was yours truly back in January with my prediction of who Trump would pick as his running mate. I didn't say her name. As I said at the time, I didn't want to cause an S-storm in her life because she wasn't getting mentioned a lot back then. But I just had a kind of feeling. She's from the South. She's a rising star within the Republican Party. She's a darling of many people who are powerful within the party. And young enough that she doesn't have a huge legislative record that could be problematic for Trump. So I am going to tell you who that person is now because she's sitting on this set next to me, and it was Senator Katie Britt. So would you like to make your announcement now?
That's right. That's actually why we've come. Surprise. No, I appreciate you even thinking that I would be capable of something like that, truly. I mean, honestly, to be mentioned as someone who could lead potentially now or in the future is always really an honor and humbling. But as I have said, I've got my work cut out for me fighting in the U.S. Senate and fighting for the people of Alabama. We've done a lot of good things in the first 17 months, but I think there's a lot more work to do. And I stand alongside Ted here in figuring out how we can do everything possible, not only to make sure that President Trump takes back the White House, but we take back the Senate, which I think is critically important to us preserving the country and making sure that we can move some good things forward.
All right, so in full disclosure, then I reversed my prediction after the State of the Union response,
Fair enough.
which my audience knows I was not a big fan of. Now, can you just tell me, like, what happened there? Because just talking to you today, you know, you don't have that same affect. So was that nerves, or walk us through what was going on?
You know, it was a real honor to be able to speak on behalf of the party and to be able to speak to so many of the issues that we think are important and to really be able to talk about what Joe Biden isn't doing. You know, I think about what we're looking at right now and where we were before he got here and what he's done on the border, whether it's 94 executive orders in his first 100 days, whether it's him coming in and saying we're going to halt deportations, stop building the border wall, or even we're going to give amnesty to millions, of which we know acts as a magnet. We see that hurting our communities, whether it's fentanyl overdoses or whether it is,
maybe
tragedy.
You do kind of have that affect now. I actually, just watching you, it is kind of similar.
Tragedies like Laken Riley. And to think about, you know, just the innocence of that young woman who went on a simple run that morning and come back. And listen, after you see Joe Biden literally yell for almost an hour and turn it into a political speech, what was supposed to be a dignified statesman speech at the State of the Union, it's just truly, Megan, it's infuriating. And so whether you're talking about that, whether you're talking about what we're doing just at home with prices going through the roof, you know, I mean, literally just went to the grocery store on Saturday and it's absolutely
but what are you saying?
That
it was you were so affected by what
you know,
him and his
when you watch him yell for over an hour, it's incredibly frustrating, but certainly was honored to do it and look forward to keep fighting for the very things that we talked about, one of which was IVF.
Well, wait, you didn't really answer. Was that the real you?
I gave it all I've got. I mean, that is a really high honor and felt very passionately about it. You know what? I gave my best. I understand on that evening, and I understand that.
Would you just call me the next time you get asked? I can help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know how it is, but you shouldn't have said yes to that.
And now we know.
Now we know.
No, but Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, after she gave the response, which I thought she did a terrific job,
Thanks,
and the media went nuts and savaged her. And at lunch the next day, I told you we're like a junior high, so we had lunch the next day.
Yeah.
And I was pissed off. I'm like, they're coming after you. It is ugly. It is vicious. And just spur of the moment, I said, well, you know what? Come to my podcast tonight. Let's go talk about it. And so awesome. She came on the podcast. We did it as an audible. It was actually Monday. It was the Monday. So it had happened the week before. It was the next Monday. I said, come tonight. Let's do the podcast tonight. And so she did it, and it's actually very funny because CNN was pissed because she didn't go on CNN. She went on my podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Look, the joy of a podcast, we just set up the microphone and talked through it. And it was, I remember it was Monday because it was right after Saturday, and it was SNL. And SNL, she was played by Scarlett Johansson, who, by the way, did a fabulous job.
Yes, that was actually pretty
Yeah.
But I was actually saying, okay, how cool is it that they get Scarlett Johansson to play you? Like that's a big deal.
It was a
and I'm
win.
just like, lean
It was a
in
win.
and own it. And she rocked. Look, a response to the State of the Union is kind of by its nature. It's a little bit artificial and stilted. And there have been lots of people who have had rough times, whether Bobby Jindal or Marco Rubio. Sorry, I did some live action comedy there. Sorry, Marco,
so
I
good.
apologize.
We're so good. Megan, I do hope that people, though, honestly take time to get to know me. It was an interesting kind of sort of window into how quickly the media can jump on a narrative,
Yep.
and then how they work
We are mean
to spread that. And so I think if anyone takes time to get to know Katie Britt and get to know the work that I've done, the relationships I've built with my colleagues, the issues I stand on.
You got a lot of career ahead of you. They'll get to know. They'll learn to love.
I am a passionate person, and I'm unafraid to fight for the things that I care about.
I love the revisionist history relating to Britt's disastrous State of the Union response that she and Cruz both engage in. Britt's State of the Union response, which, by the way, when she's asked about it by Kelly, she goes, "Oh, it was such an honor to be able to deliver the response for my party." But she doesn't answer the direct question of, were you nervous? Why was that? Because when that happened, Megan put up a video calling it cringe, like said it was bad, which I agree with. But I like that she sidesteps the question to, try to make herself sound so humble to be the one that was asked to deliver the response. But really, whoever thought it was a good idea for her to deliver the response probably ended up kicking themselves for making that choice or even having that idea float in their head. And Cruz and Britt both, again, try to like play it down. Oh, the liberal media, they attacked Britt over. Yeah. Britt's response to the State of the Union should be taken, downloaded millions of times, seen by millions of people, and used as a case study for politicians of future generations and just public speakers of future generations on how not to address an audience. It's like, just when you watch it, you see the roboticness. President Biden just doesn't get it. And he, the permanent smile, the emotions that are so fake and contrived, just complete garbage. And then you also have to note that in this interview, they completely cut out the fact that Britt lied during the State of the Union response. She brought up that there was a 12-year-old girl that was in the cartels as a result of Biden's, immigration policy supposedly being so horrible. And it was found out the 12-year-old girl she's talking about was put into this condition back in 2004 when the U.S. president was George W. Bush, which shows how incorrect she was. And of course, and this goes back to this thing where she knows her response was ridiculed and made fun of and just seen generally as a joke. But following the Republican playbook, she and we saw this with Noam, right, with that dog thing. We saw this with Stefanik yesterday when they were asking her, like, hey, you went from supporting Trump to now, from not supporting him to now supporting him. Britt will never acknowledge, yeah, my response, it wasn't that well received. It got a lot of pushback that I didn't expect. Maybe I could have been more emotive and not incorrectly stated something. Nope, just doubling down. It was such an honor, and the criticism. No, Cruz does it for. He's her hype man. It was the liberal media that it was the media. They did this, and I never, because I've tried to really just blacklist Cruz from my channel. I don't really talk about him that much anymore because I find him to be pretty much like old news, and I explained that when I did my story on him talking about 2028, but. I keep asking myself, how does someone be a U.S. senator and they have the time to do a whole podcast Like you would think they'd be trying to get bills passed, or I don't know, tending to the issues of their state. Texas is the second largest state in the U.S. after all, so I'm sure there's no shortage of issues and things that could be addressed there and people to meet. Nope, come to the Senate a few days a week and then go home and record this stupid thing and do TV interviews the rest of the week. I thought it was so funny that Megan began the interview by mentioning how she thought Britt was a top Trump VP choice and then changed her mind after seeing the State of the Union response. Because as bad as Trump can be at times, whether we're talking about policy or in some of the statements that he makes publicly, the one thing that he's really good at doing, and I'll always acknowledge this, is that when he gives an interview, he can appear calm. If he has to give a public address, he can appear likable. He can appear authentic. Whether he's telling lies or not, you would never see him sit in front of a camera and do what Britt did, where it's like this fake emotive attempts to emphasize things. He's very well tuned to speaking like a normal person, and that's something that Britt has been unable to do, and fully demonstrated that during that horrendous State of the Union response. But also, I thought it was funny because it's like I thought of all the people that could be picked, and it wouldn't make any sense to me that Trump would pick not even just a one-term senator, but like someone who hasn't even been in the Senate for half a term as his VP. I don't know, just that seems strange. I that's why I kept saying I thought Noam or really any of the other ones would be a better choice. But that's just like a sidestepping of one of my other problems with this interview. Just the fact that she was mentioned as someone who was a rising star. And honestly, nobody's talking about Tuberville. I think, depending on if the Republicans get the Senate and the House back this year, I think they're going to lose the House, but they might be able to win the Senate again. I said before, I think they'll lose the White House. But if they're able to win the Senate, there is a very strong likelihood that Britt is going to be trying to get some type of we already talked about that other story. So she's someone I would pay attention to, because I do think even with her horrible response to the State of the Union, you'll see more eyes on her and more like attempts by her party to push her forward. Which she's no worse than the rest of them, I don't think, anyway. And I do believe that it actually probably would be to the benefit of the Democrats if they try to take this like individual who's really bad at public speaking and stick her in the front of the GOP. But it's just so bizarre that when these people do these interviews, when they go on these different, because Megan clearly doesn't have her on there to give her some hard, tough, strong questions. Like, Megan is known for being a former Fox anchor, so it's crazy that you get another like this softball interview where they just ask you, hey, do you think you messed up on that State of the Union response? Oh no, I'm so honored to have been asked by my party to give the response. Like, just why can't any of these people have a single moment of self-reflection and just say, I shouldn't have done this, I gave some incorrect information, that was a mistake? You never get any accountability by these bastards. It's all just doubling down on the same things. And Cruz talk like I guess she's his protege, because I've now seen this is the second or third interview I've seen of them together. There was a Fox News interview as well. I think she might have posted to her channel where they were being like jointly asked. It's really weird. Just what I think he's doing is he kind of realizes that his time is up in terms of being the one that the GOP pushes, because they always liked Rubio more than him, because Rubio was more willing to play ball and Cruz could kind of like coast on the whole fake outsider thing. So he's probably thinking that if she does become VP or president at some point, he'll be able to get some influence from taking her under his wing. Although it would be even funnier if he would actually lose re-election this year, which I don't think he will, because Texas it's turning more and more purple, but not fast enough. But it's just sad that this is the state of American politics. We have the senator from Alabama who would rather spend more time trying to figure out how to track pregnant people than actually prevent a lot of these unwanted pregnancies from happening. And the senator from Texas, who after losing a presidential election to a game show host, became one of his biggest bootlickers and whose greatest contribution to American democracy right now is hosting a stupid podcast when he should be serving his constituents in Texas. Just absolutely pathetic.